have a kind, mindful, brave Canadian freedom warrior, Jason CHRISTOFF. He is a master. He is a master in self-sabotage as a coach, and he offers personal services for health recovery and has a podcast called Psychology of Freedom. How appropriate. Jason has been outspoken for many years now about various factors that play into versions of the agenda that have been intentionally forced on humanity. And this agenda has been executed in a subvert manner to control the masses and seeks to undermine public understanding or understanding, as I say, in regards to the role of government and erase the longstanding consciousness of what it means to be a free citizen in a democratic society. Welcome, Jason. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Jamie. I'm doing fantastic today. And I used to be a master self-saboteur myself.
Oh, sorry, I messed that up.
So I definitely understand. So now I am an overcoming self-sabotage coach, but that's just a friendly way and a clean way to tell the public, I'm going to teach you about mind control and brainwashing and propaganda. It just comes off easier on a business card that you're an overcoming self-sabotage coach. But what I really teach in my school, which is international and I have about 1,000 students in the school, is we teach everybody, and there's medical doctors in the school, chiropractors, health coaches, exercise coaches, and members of the general public, but we teach them how this invisible system works. And when you tell people about mind control, they usually would think that someone might look like a zombie, right, and their eyes are glazed over and they have the straight peg legs and they're walking with their arms out and groaning. But it's good to even give examples that the public can go see for themselves that are entertainment based. So you gave your audience a mouthful, but I tell people, if you want to know how this really works and want to be entertained, start with some examples so you can see it's a real thing. Like, it's important people see this is a real thing where you're not in control of your mind. And there's no better example right now that I could give. It's very entertaining as well. It's a made for Netflix special called The Push, and it is by Darren Brown. And I will tell you, it's very hard to find because they want to hide it. Because if anybody listening today watched it, they would understand what went on in 2020. So this, and the people can get it if they want. They can email me personally at info@jchristoff.com, and I will give you a copy, which I've found, and it was very difficult to find. And it's made by this man called Darren Brown. So he's a mind control entertainment specialist out of the United Kingdom, and he was hired by Netflix to do a made for Netflix special. And this is called The Push. Now, it's called The Push for a reason, and it involved 70 actors and one person who doesn't know what's going on. We call them the mark, or the victim, in psychological research. So it was all about this group pressure and this force that drives all our behavior. We need to be liked. We want to be part of the group. We want to go along to get along. And when we feel like the group is against us, we get very nervous and we don't know why. It's sort of like an automatic system in our neurology. And a lot of people don't understand it. But in this 70 actor, one victim scenario, the group pressure starts and starts and starts. And it's only a 2-hour experiment. And it ends where the victim is on the roof of this building, like a 10-story building. And for whatever reason that you'll discover if you watch this, there's an old man turned around on the precipice of the roof with his feet overhanging. Now, it's not an old man. It's a stunt man, because the crescendo of the group pressure has the victim on the roof with four or five different actors. He thinks they're real people, but they're actors, and they're pushing him to do something. What they're
Mhm.
trying to get him to do under group pressure is go kill the old man live on camera. Okay.
Oh,
It is terrifying to watch because the only person who doesn't know is the person that may
yeah.
commit the murder.
Oh man.
So hold on. It gets, but like a bad infomercial. Hold on. There's more. So it was ran, this scenario was ran with four different people and it was filmed each time. It was 2 hours each. And three out of the four times, the person succumbed to the group pressure, pushed the old man, what they thought was an old man, off the side of the building, murdering the old man on live on camera. And then when that was done, three out of four committed the murder. And then when it was executed, the psychologist came out from the bushes and said, "It's okay. You didn't really kill him. The man was harnessed. They made him look over. He was swinging there in the darkness because it kind of, they wanted him to be sort of pulled back in
Yeah.
under the precipice." But this is how powerful this group pressure tendency is in the human. And if you watch the three people that did kill the old man in this made for Netflix special called the Push, you will see they were not acting like a zombie. They were not glazed over. They were in full control of
Hmm.
their faculties. And this is exactly what happened in 2020. There was massive group pressure and it accumulated to the point where people lose their ability to think rationally and logically about the long-term
Yeah.
consequences of their actions. So just so that people know, this is not hypothetical. It is used every day. It's used in entertainment, like Darren Brown uses quite a bit, but this is the same technology that unfortunately the powers that shouldn't be weaponized against the public, not only from 2020, because this has been going on a long time, but they really upped their game in 2020. Like before, they would use group pressure to make people smoke or to make them drink or to make them eat junk food. So it's sort of
Yeah.
throwing you down the evolutionary ladder in a slower way. But in
Hmm.
2020, they really turned it up to 11, where they were using said mind control tactics to make people do worse things to themselves, to put it mildly.
Hmm. Yeah. Jason, this is so good. I know you're used to speaking and your speech is honed in, man. It is like phenomenal. And I got to witness it in Washington when we were there with the International Crisis Summit, we call it now, right? Crisis
Correct.
was it 4 or 5 that this year?
That was the
5.
fifth one in Washington. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So super grateful I got to meet you in person. I've heard so many great things about you from my friend Sherry Strong. And I've watched a lot of your interviews and I love listening to you speak, by the way. It's so
Thank
calming.
you.
But your speech is also so powerful. And when you were in Washington and continue to do, you speak on weaponizing psychology and propaganda during, I call it the pandemic.
Right.
As we know, it was planned. So we're conspiracy theorists, you know. Um, so there's two parts to your speech, right, that you talk about, and one is confusion, and the other one is what you just talked about, which is the group pressure. So I would love for you today, for our audience, please go. It's on YouTube. That's where I even saw it today with the International Crisis Summit 5, and just put in Jason Christoff's name, and you'll see his speech there. It's phenomenal. We only got like 10 minutes to talk, but Jason, I know you can elaborate, and I would love that just to give our audience, I know we're online right now, but sort of an in-person experience of that speech that you did that was just so like we took pictures of every one of your slides first of all, but it's just like it's just when every time you said something it was like yes, 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 like because we could see it, right? So yeah, just fill out. Let's talk about confusion, like how they started this whole thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, we only had 10 minutes at the International
So,
Crisis Summit to talk. So I had to talk really fast. And it was all about weaponized psychology so that the average person could understand what they were seeing. Because
mhm.
the average person from 2020 onward knew that what they were seeing didn't make sense. So they would turn to their friend if they went to a restaurant, and you could walk in and you would have to wear a mask, but then you could take it off when you sat down and then back on again to go to the toilet. So we all would turn to each other like we,
Yeah.
weren't under a spell, and saying, hey Frank, this doesn't make any sense, but they would do it anyway. And there were
Yeah.
so many things like this, say the curfews, where you
Yeah.
couldn't be out in Montreal past 10 o'clock. I remember one time I was sort of trying to take a weekend break in Montreal. Bad idea during the pandemic when everything was back open. But they
Yeah.
said you can't leave the hotel after 10, and you're not even allowed to leave your room after 10. I thought I'll just come down and
Wow.
read by the fireplace in old Montreal if I'm not allowed out. And basically they said, no, you're not even allowed out of your room. So of course I, would, just like everybody else, would look toward someone to the left or the right, and we would all nod our heads that this didn't make any sense. And there was so many, so this pathogen would attack at 10:01, but it would not attack at 9:59. This of course makes no sense, and of course the same pathogen could count all of a sudden, would attack in a group of 11 but not in a group of 8. And
Yeah.
everybody would nod to each other that this didn't make any sense. The arrows, and then the lady behind a thing of plexiglass at the grocery store, when it's supposed to be airborne, and of course the air is everywhere. And even when I used to go to Farm Boy,
Sorry,
and they
Jason, but you're saying this so
it,
like
it's it doesn't
neutral.
It doesn't make any sense, but we'll explain how the masters of the mind control made
Yeah.
sure it didn't, and why they made sure it didn't make any sense. Even when I went to Farm Boy, because past mind control campaigns told me to bring my own bags so I could bag my own groceries and put
Like,
someone out of business, on the unemployment line. So I bring my own bags because I was under the plastic campaign, mind control. It's still better. So I bring my own bags, and they say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You can't come in." And I said,
yeah.
"Well, why can't I come in now?" And they said, "Well, you're carrying the bags from home. They might
Yeah.
have the pathogen on." And I said, "Okay." Because I know mind control, and I know how to cause a mind control breakdown, is what they call in research. I
Oh.
said, but my clothes are also from home. Do you want me to just undress and come in? And because if I can't bring anything from home, obviously I have to shop nude. And of course they know it. So they nod at you like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm just
Yeah.
doing my job. So there's so many confusion based incidences. Like they were doing lap dances at certain places in Las Vegas if people would comply with whatever the TV was saying to do. But then the churches were closed. So it's, you can
Right.
break the 6 foot distance rule down at the strip joint and get the lap dance, but you can't, and the churches were closed. So you can't say Hail Mary down in on the pews in the church, but you can get a lap dance, and take that for what it is, you know.
I love
And
the comparisons. These are really good. Like that's I'm apologizing that I'm laughing, but I mean it's
oh,
good
it's
to laugh,
supposed
but
to
it's
be
so
funny because the people
insane.
who organize it, Jamie, they're laughing because it has to be laughable or it doesn't work. So
Watching us do this.
they're watching us laughing, like in that famous meme where they're all laughing.
Yeah.
So even with, people might even think something like, say, Dr. Fauci, he would come out, and he came out early. I don't know who he was interviewed by, but he said, no, masks don't do anything. They're more psychologically appeasing. They might stop a little, nose running, but they're highly ineffective. So someone would think, oh, someone got to him, because only later he was saying to wear one mask. And then all of a sudden, maybe 3 months after declaring one mask, well, he started with none, then to one. And then he shows up 3 months into it with two masks. And then it causes some kind of social contagion where people are starting to layer their masks and basically block all oxygen from coming to their brain. And then all of a sudden, you could take the masks off if you complied with what the TV said. And then all of a sudden, it didn't really matter if you complied with what the TV said. All masks were off, and suddenly no masks mattered. So you can see people were confused. Now, if you're the average person in the public, they're going to say, oh, Fauci might have been bribed, or he might have been pressured or coerced to ramp up this mask sort of step pyramid. But no, this is all part of it.
Yeah.
This is the whole agenda. Every step was planned because confusion. If you look at Dr. Jos Merleau, he's psychology behavior modification expert. You can get his book free on the internet called Rape of the Mind, and he's
Oh,
from the 1950s and 1960s, and his writing style is very sharp, and it's very anybody can understand it. It's not a sciencey book whatsoever. And basically, when he was studying prisoner of war, uh, captures in the Korean War, he said, well, if you confuse the prisoners, they just comply a lot more. So let's always confuse them. and
wow.
and basically, if you're really friendly to them, like on 7 days you give them the food, ask them how they're doing. So for 7 days you're very friendly, and then as you grab for your food on the 8th day, you take the bamboo right to their knuckle and have real no reason to turn on them. This confusion makes the person more compliant. That's the time where you're going to tell them what to do or ask them for secret information. They're more prone to just open up and do exactly as you say. So Dr. Jus Merleau's quote is, confusion is it's one of the effective ingredients of mind control. So everything we saw, even up to today, it's still going on. So you see someone like, say, Rand Paul
Hmm.
is taking Dr. Fauci to task publicly, where Fauci is admitting that there was no scientific validation to the 6 foot distance rule. Now, people might be cheering this, but this is the same agenda. People might be like, yeah, take Fauci to task, that liar. We're really making some headway. And I'm like, hold on. This is exactly the same thing.
That's
Because
me.
what's happening there is, in psychology, you're letting the majority, like more than 50% of the public, know you were suckered. You thought you were smart. You were running around like a baboon, 6 foot distance, marking your territory, yelling at other people, accusing other people who you said were less intelligent. And
Yeah.
those less intelligent people that you accused of being low IQ, they
Yeah.
were 100% correct. And you, sir, are 100% incorrect. And this confuses the obedient order follower, which makes
Mhm.
them more prone to obey, not less prone. See, this is what people believe, is that if I
Yeah.
mock you, and even like the Epic Times or Epoch Times, however you pronounce this
Yeah.
paper,
Yeah.
they come out. I mean, every second edition of this very well read and new periodical is saying big trouble for the vaccinated, myocarditis, you know, immune problems, neurological
Yeah.
problems, heart problems. So again, people think, we're really happy that this newspaper, this new one, is reporting. But if you understand propaganda, there's a very good chance that that newspaper is doing the same thing that Rand Paul's doing. Now, I don't think Rand Paul's doing this on purpose,
Right.
but he just said, take him to task on this. But the whole point of all of these reports now, and everybody's like, why aren't they being censored? Why isn't it being shut down? Why is all this getting out? It's getting out because it accomplishes the main goal of saying, hey, Joe and Jane coffee shop, guess what? You got suckered. So not
Yeah.
only did they sucker you, they're telling you they suckered you, which
Hmm.
makes you weaker, because in mind control, the base foundation of mind control is this power differential.
Okay.
Because if you're weaker than me, I can manhandle you. And weakness
Yeah.
spiritually or weakness intellectually, I still got an advantage. It's just like battered woman syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm going to dominate you as the aggressive male, and I'm going to sort of terrorize you and traumatize you, whether you need it or not, because I got to keep you in that trauma cycle to make sure when I do want something, I can't have you regain your power.
Mm-hmm.
In regaining the power in battered woman syndrome, the end of battered woman syndrome as a legal defense is when the woman does regain her power and actually murders her abusive husband.
Mm-hmm.
So what that really shows in psychology, he probably took his foot off the accelerator of the abuse. And that's not what the powers that shouldn't be are doing. They're just keeping their foot on the accelerator of the abuse. They're the abusive husband, say, so to speak, and
Mm-hmm.
they're still abusing their victims by not only scaring them into something illogical 2 years ago. Now the same person is being told daily, "You're not as smart as you thought you were." How confusing is that? We suckered you. You were a victim of propaganda. You weren't smart enough to see the propaganda, but those conspiracy theorists were, the tinfoil hatters were. And so, in the mind of that person who complied and thought they would go along to get along and get good points to be a compliant citizen, in their mind, they're like this. Eh, 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 eh. They're weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And the average person would say, next time someone tries to sucker them, they're going to rebel. No, 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 no. That's not the way terror and trauma works. As someone who's a victim of battered woman syndrome, the more consistent it is, the more she stays under the spell.
Yeah. Do you think, Jason, that they're aware of this? Like, okay, for example, like on X, I'm still getting like you post something really obvious, like the they're coming out with now the even Dr. Makis. I post a lot of his stuff, or all the doctors that are posting data, truth, and
Yep.
I still get people that are like, or even your example of Dr. Fauci now saying that masks and or the 6 feet apart was it was just a guess or whatever he said.
They just made it up.
Yeah, they just made it up. So these people that are the abused ones that followed and complied, like, are they getting that? Because they keep coming at us and saying that I'm posting false like lies or false this and that.
Absolutely, they understand. In psychology, what's happening there is they're sort of in love with their abuser. They have
Yeah,
to be. So
Stockholm
it's just
syndrome.
it's Stockholm syndrome. So the
Yes.
Stockholm syndrome is just being connected
Wow.
to your abuser simply because they're the ones that hold the reins of abuse. So if
Mm-hmm.
you can't really fend for yourself or you're not strong enough to push back on the bully, of course you side with the bully. Your neurological system won't allow you to do otherwise. So anybody that's denying that they got suckered, it's just verbal. Their nervous system has declared that, yeah, we know we got suckered. We got suckered in 2022. We're suckered today where they're making fun of us for doing what we said they gave us rewards for. They gave us the limelight for. They gave us
Mm-hmm.
the center stage in 2022 for complying. Now they're
Mm-hmm.
mocking us. The nervous system is always keeping score. The nervous system does things outside your conscious awareness, like you're not in control of your menstrual cycle. I'm not in
Mm-hmm.
control of my hair growth. I'm not in control of a cut healing. That we live inside a system that is always making sort of millisecond calculations to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the millisecond calculations that keep us safe is assessing if you're strong enough to go up against a bully. And if you're not strong enough because you're financially destitute, you're a senior, you can't throw a roundhouse or a good left hook, you can't do it. So your only card to play neurologically in your subconscious makes this decision for you: play the safe card,
Mm-hmm.
and not only be on the side of the bully, verbally declare on maybe your Twitter or X or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're not only internally siding with the bully, they're so weak. They're coming
Mm-hmm.
out and saying, "I'm on your side, bully. Look at me go against Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm on your side. Give me my reward of safety." They're trying
Wow.
to rank hierarchy by basically making a stand with their gang. That's
Mm-hmm.
how scared they are, is that they're so afraid of sort of navigating life on their own. They're willing to come out, mark that they're on the red or the blue team, and say, this is my team. I'm on team denial. And I want all the rewards that come with being a member of team denial. And there's so many rewards being given out for being on team denial: jobs, pensions, greater reach on your social media, celebration. These are all the psychological rewards that are proven to draw the weaker humans into the, like like moths to a flame. You know that moth
Mm-hmm.
zapper that's so famous
Yeah.
in Canada? The moths come and it's and then they fall dead, and you
Yeah.
find them all dead the next day around the zapper. This is what's going on, because there really isn't any safety siding with the bully at this point. Because to be with the bully, the first thing the bully's asking is to participate in, like, basically a game of Russian roulette.
Genocide.
Right, and that's what you're going to get when you side with the bully. And so it's funny that the government in Canada has the purple anti-bullying day, when really the government is the biggest bully ever to exist
Yes.
on any in any country at any time in history. And they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to tell us how not to bully. They're bullying everybody. They're bullying the people who basically complied. They're bullying the people that haven't complied. And it's just one big bullying operation, because, of course, that's what mind control is based on: this power differential: financial power, emotional power, physical power. Because they have all the, and everything the government does is about improving their power and diminishing yours. Even, say, I used to have some guns in Canada. I still have them. I'm not allowed to take them out of the gun cabinet. So the guns that I used to have, they're illegal now. But so I'm weakened
Mm-hmm.
on some level, like on a minor level, but they're weakening across the full spectrum. This is just
Yeah.
one example.
Yeah.
And then the police force in my area just got bigger guns. So they got bigger guns. I get no guns. They get all the money. I get no money. They get all the media play. I get no play. So the bully just keeps engrossing himself like some kind of weird sorcerer movie, where the evil person just grows and grows and grows and grows, and then we get smaller and smaller, unable to defend ourselves from this cosmic bully. And people really have to understand, this is how this game is going. The inflation is there to make you
Yeah.
financially weak. Um,
Food, water.
yeah, everything's rent, and they're bringing in this mass immigration
Oh.
that just drives up all the rent. Because, of course, when you have an extra 3 million people, which is 10%, everybody's rapidly pursuing the same
Mm-hmm.
residences and rental opportunities. It's just going to drive the rent and the cost of housing through the roof. So we're involved in a real estate Ponzi scheme. We're getting our money siphoned away from us. And this is all about the group in control, engrossing themselves with the power, and they siphon it from us, because
Mm-hmm.
energy can be neither created nor destroyed. So every ounce of energy that they get has to literally come from us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the solution then, Jason, to, this mind control and the people that have complied and the Stockholm syndrome thing? Like, what is the solution to this? Because
Well,
I feel like if you're not awake now,
yeah, there's going to be a problem with the people who are on team denial, unfortunately. And for the other people, I tell it's very easy solution. When a bear is chasing you at a campsite, you don't have to run faster than the bear. You only have to run faster than the person next to you. So people in camp denial, they're not they're not going to run as fast as I can, because I've been
you're
training for this moment, because I'm fit. I've been training for this moment my whole life. But it's about power. So
Mhm.
this is all about power. So it's the power to give your no when it's more comfortable to give your yes.
Okay.
So that power to say no in the face of a dragon, in the face of a wolf, in the face of a tyrant takes energy. It
Mm-hmm.
takes power. So all the person has to do is understand, okay, and I understand as well the average person doesn't have a lot of time. They don't have a lot of money. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to go read a book, enroll in a course, do stuff like that, because people are always, they're already jammed to the wall, pinned to the wall. They got no extra cash
Yeah.
and they got no extra time. So what do you do to improve your power? Take away what's hurting you. It's free and it'll save you money. Alcohol, caffeine, watching Netflix, watching actors stab and shoot each other on TV. These things cost money, they cost time, and they take away your power. So the least you can do is stop poisoning yourself by your own hand in your own house with your own money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the least you can do. Then your power starts coming back. An invisible
Yeah.
vapor let me tell you about the invisible vapor of power called the etheric force. The group doing all this knows that's 100% factual, documented, true.
Mm-hmm.
So as you get more powerful, they start losing their power because it stops venting off of you in an invisible way and cycles
Right.
back into your own life. So you get
Mm-hmm.
healthier, more powerful. And if someone doesn't know like the quickest steps to getting healthy, they would read Paul Chek. So Paul Chek is the number one health guru in the entire world, hands down. It's CHEK, and he wrote a book. You read that one book, you'll know exactly what you need to do to regain your physical pillar of strength, which is your most important foundational pillar. His book is called How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy.
Okay.
And so you don't have to go find Justin Trudeau. You don't have to go find Klaus Schwab. You got to get up off your couch, open your fridge, and saying, am I poisoning myself like this guy on the internet says I am? Is there poison in your fridge? Do you
Mm-hmm.
think poison in moderation is healthy for you?
Yeah. No.
Right. So a lot of people do because this is a big mind control web that's over Canadians predominantly. The alcohol, marijuana, the coffee. And if you want to know how detrimental coffee is for your health,
I
read
heard today.
it is not good. You could read Stephen Chernisky's book, Caffeine Blues. It'll read like a horror story. It's a page turner because you will not believe the lies of coffee. It's the safe and
Oh.
effective of the grocery store world.
I have a question with coffee because I was a coffee. Well, I am, but I switched. I'm switching over. I recently switched over to mud water, which
Yeah.
still has like black tea in it. But Jason, like, and I've talked to Sherry about this too, right? And I agree. Caffeine is it's never. We've been lied to about everything. So, and what it does to the brain, right? Like she talked about how it shuts off that the pathway. Is that what it was again, or the?
Basically, caffeine is an alkaloid poison. The coffee plant, and many other plants produce caffeine to kill bugs and kill competing foliage.
Oh,
So
that's why they
the
created coffee beans.
no, I mean coffee beans were brought in because when you're poisoned, you lose access to your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that could figure all this out. That if you had access to your prefrontal cortex, you would speak like me, see like me, and you wouldn't have to do any courses. This is the prefrontal cortex in action. It's the most intelligent part of the brain. It is natural. You don't have to teach it. It just comes as standard equipment. And caffeine shuts down the prefrontal cortex or frontal lobe.
So
This
they
is why
created
they
another drink to poison us, basically, or another.
well, well, they found it. They found it during the Crusades. Tea came into the UK royals would use tea in the same way to shut down the prefrontal cortex of the slaves that were working for
Oh,
them, and that was
wow.
in like 1610. And the
Okay.
Crusades brought the coffee bean back from Arabia in 1680, and said, and the reason tea. I mean, everything I'm saying, it's not a misunderstanding. The UK royals were using the caffeinated tea to sedate and tranquilize and shut down the brain function of the slave class. And the Crusaders came back and would see people in Saudi Arabia fight. And when
Mhm.
they would fight, they would use hashish, and they would also use um, some kind of I don't know if it was a marijuana equivalent, but they used a lot of coffee. So basically, they said you got to get rid of this tea or bring in this coffee because it has an extra effect beyond the caffeinated tea. It disrupts brain function. It brings the brain function into a childlike IQ. It's a
Oh,
short-term thinking brain function. So if you're in the position of ruling people, like if that's your job is to rule and govern and control, you would rather govern child IQs instead of adult IQs because it's almost impossible to govern a fully functional, empowered adult. So
yeah.
you feed them the caffeinated. This is why everything's caffeinated. I mean,
Yeah.
the energy drinks, the Rockstar drinks, the pre-workouts, everything's caffeinated. They want you caffeinated. You're easier to rule caffeinated. This is why green tea for the non-coffee drinker, someone's like, oh, I like green tea. I'm a little bit more zen. I'm doing some sound bowls tonight, having some green tea. They don't care. As long as you're caffeinated, they don't care what sect you're part of. As long as you're caffeinated, you're just easier to rule. So you have to understand this about the group.
You're ruining everything for us, Jason.
Yes, this is called Jason Ruins Everything. This is the name of the live stream today. This is exactly what it's about. But the thing is, if I don't ruin your false beliefs, you will ruin your own life with these because you can't. Life's hard
Yeah.
enough. Like it's being shown. If anybody goes to YouTube right now and puts ABC, which is the newscast agency in the U.S., and you put MRI, ABC, caffeine, you'll get a lady, an ABC reporter, going into an MRI before and after she drinks an 8-ounce cup of coffee. And although the neurologist is eyeballing the change in the MRI, he does say blood flow is cut to your brain by at least 40%. And
Yeah.
when it was measured, it's 50%.
50.
So when you
Yeah.
drink one 8-ounce cup of coffee, and most people are drinking double or triple that in a day, you cut blood
Yeah.
flow and oxygen flow to your brain by half. So if you think it's hard to deal with a tyrannical, uh,
Wow.
communist satano government when you're fully functional, imagine trying to deal with all this stuff with half a brain. You would be hard pressed to get by. And most people are hard pressed to get by because the same effect of the coffee is mimicked by drinking wine at night. And this coffee in the morning, wine at night is a cycle. And if it's mostly Canadian. I mean, this is a predominantly Canadian cycle. Canadians don't really know this, and you can see who complied the most, who got hit the most, who's suffering the most. Well, look, people who have this cycle inside
Oh,
their culture.
yeah.
This is what's really going on, is that these are very standard mind control tactics used, because there's mind control tactics and then there's chemicals that upregulate the efficiency of standard tactics. And if you're caffeinated or you're drinking alcohol or you're chemically infused whatsoever, it's been proven I can put you under deeper forms of mind control compared to a completely healthy version of yourself.
Well, and on top of it, they know everyone's traumatized to some degree, so they need something to like numb themselves, right? And they know that society functions. They created these things so that I can feel better. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people go, I just need a drink. I just need a drink. I just right, or I need my coffee. It's like you become now dependent on it, and this is
We're
just
Yeah, we're all trauma victims, right? Even someone like myself, circumcised, I don't know how many days out of the womb. Yeah, we'll just cut 30% of his penis off without anesthetic. The penis
right.
has the most nerve endings per
Yes.
square inch anywhere in the body. Yeah, no problem. That makes perfect sense. So
Yeah.
we all land on what I call Planet Mental Asylum, where everybody's a trauma victim. Like when I'm on a subway, I'm just like, we're all trauma victims here. But the thing about the strength, again, the physical pillar of strength comes first, and then you should go to the emotional and financial, intellectual, and
Mhm.
spiritual pillars. So there's 5 pillars of strength. But basically, we're all trauma victims, and then you have a choice to make. Are you going to face the pain? Are you going to talk to the pain teacher? Are you going to interface with the trauma and listen to some valuable messages that only pain can bring? Or are you going to get in that cycle that's advertised in the media, that coffee in the morning is a tranquilizing agent? It is a numbing agent. Caffeine is a sedating agent. It actually retracts your nervous system. Caffeine's proven, if you take it as a human, you can do boring tasks longer. And this is exactly why there's probably free coffee at a lot of places where people are employed, because if you find that phrase that people can do boring tasks longer, just go to an Adderall documentary or Ritalin documentary, or one of these classes of sedative substances that they give to kids. Is the exact same phraseology they use for those substances. That's why they give them to the kids in school, because it allows people to do boring tasks longer. And if you're in the ruling business, you want everybody doing all these mundane, spiritually,
Mhm.
futile jobs as long as possible. And then the coffee and
Yeah.
alcohol can't even take it eventually, like can't even hold back the depression. You'll have like a government school teacher go to the health advisor and say, I'm still depressed. And then they'll just plop in some psychoactive medication so that you can feel less and less and
Mhm.
less and less. And then the only part that makes you human is feeling.
Yeah. Wow, as you're saying all this, I'm sitting here going, think of all the physicians out there like that I've been around, and I'm watching them like smoke and drink their coffee all day because they got to stay awake. And wowza, this is really scary, scary stuff.
Yeah, and they
Jason,
serve that in the hospitals, right? Like when you go
all
into
the
a
time.
hospital in Canada, there's a
Yeah,
chocolate bar machine,
yeah,
pop machine, chip
yeah.
machine, all the junk food. You go to what they call the tuck shop. I don't know whether they're trying to tuck your soul into your pants or something. I don't know what's going on there, but there's nothing. A maggot couldn't even survive in there. Anything served at the tuck shop would choke a maggot. And then you see they're feeding patients jellos and French fries and yogurts with aspartame. It's
Yes.
basically some sort, and this is because we've lost our way, because we've lost our feeling. Like the nurses shouldn't be doing this, the doctors shouldn't be doing this, no one should be funding this, but we don't want to feel how evil we are, because if we actually look in the mirror to see
Hmm.
that we've turned into, as a society, a team of satanic goblins. and
Hmm.
then and then to feel that far into the spell, to the hypnotic spell, is too much for some people, so they just
Yeah.
keep going like zombies. Then we get the real zombie walk, or the zombie stare. They don't even know how to connect with their nervous system anymore. Very dangerous.
Yeah, sure is. Oh, let's go on to the next part of your speech, which is the group pressure. Like what I
Yes.
find in Canada, Jason, is that Canadians, and I know that all of the countries that are under the Commonwealth basically got hit the hardest. But I feel like, is it true that or is it possible that we're like we're considered nice everywhere we go, and we're like we like you said, we do it to get along, and we're just very compliant. And like, how did this all happen? You talk about group pressure. Like this couldn't have
Well,
been something they threw on us in 2020. It's been generations of
yeah, this
program.
isn't just in 2020. They had to, what's called, psychologically prime the population to be basically children, because this schoolyard mentality is supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be left when we're a child. So this need to be liked and this nervousness we're not supposed to feel if someone says something bad about us, this child, the schoolyard mentality is supposed to be naturally fettered away, and it's supposed to naturally sweep away when around 14 years of age. See, in psychology, for someone to be a true adult, they have to face pain and failure and discomfort somewhere in their early teens. And then that sort of pain is meant to give someone some introspection and let them develop their own personality and develop their own path in life. So
Mm-hmm.
this, again, Can anybody see what I just said inside a society that's based on killing pain? Do you
Yeah.
see the problem? If
Yeah.
you need pain and suffering and discomfort to produce a society of adults that can push back and act as individuals, but the same society would rather
Numb.
smoke sedative marijuana, drink sedative caffeine, drink sedative alcohol, watch sedative media. So they're never able to make the proper rite of passage from child to adult, because the pain that matures people is missing, and that the people who rule us know that. They've even gone so far as that at school, when I went to school, I ran a race in grade 6. There was, say, 7 people in the race. I was one of them, and I came last. Now, if I would have ran that in today's generation, I would have never known I came last. And what
Yeah.
happened, I
Absolutely.
went right. So here's the tricks that the ruling group do to the public so they stay infants long into their adult years. They steal our pain. They tell you that pain is a goblin when really it's a guardian.
This is
So
so good, Jason. You're
right,
bang
so
on.
this is the trick. So basically, I came 7th place. I went home crying, and my
Mm-hmm.
mom told me, dig down, dig down hard.
Yeah.
I want you to eat better. I want you to run every night. We're going to get you a coach. We're going to lick this. We're going to evolve. We're going to move past this.
Grow.
We're going to grow. So the next year I got down in the blocks, that gun went off, and I left everybody in the dust. Now, if I would have been given a participation ribbon, that system would have robbed me of the pain to become a better human being.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what they're doing today. So Canadians are the most sedated. They have these policies like no thumbs down on YouTube. The university need a safe space. You can't fail any kid anymore. You don't even have to write some of these exams. You don't even need to be you don't even have to meet the criteria anymore to be a nurse, a cop, a doctor. They just usher you in,
You can
not
be
on
late.
merit anymore, not on hard work, but because your
Yeah.
feelings might be hurt,
Yep.
because you didn't get hired.
Hmm.
Right? So what they're doing is in every facet of our society, especially Canadian society, there's policies purposely there to take advantage of this psychology. There's
Right.
policies there to steal from the children the pain that they need to evolve. Even that school teacher I was talking about that comes to the health director at the school board and says, I'm depressed. It's a 5 alarm fire. They're
Yeah.
coming at that teacher and saying, hey, pain is a problem.
Yeah.
You have a dysfunction. You are malfunctioning. Pain, you're not supposed to have any pain at all. So
Mm-hmm.
take this pill, shut that pain down, and get back on the track. Get
Yeah.
back on the track of misery. That person probably hasn't evolved from child to adult, and she's hearing or he's hearing the quiet whispers of her soul, something's wrong, something's wrong. And they don't, that's the pain. And they're thinking the pain is a goblin. The pain teacher comes to the door and knocks on their door. Can I come in and have the talk? We got to have a talk. The only way you will stay in pain is if you ignore the pain teacher. So people today, when the pain knocks, they're like, oh, there's something the matter with me. No
Mm-hmm.
one else is depressed. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with me. So not only does the person not evolve, they're self-sadistic to themselves, because they're blaming themselves for having a nervous system that can only evolve if they experience pain.
Mm-hmm.
And this is it's not even complex. Everything in Canada and other places are experiencing the same thing. They're there. The government policies are there to keep you in a comfort coma. Because when you don't feel your pain, you will stay acting, thinking, and talking like a child all the way to the time you go into the graveyard,
Wow. Yeah.
right? And so when you run into Canadians, people down here in Mexico, the minimum wage is $5 a day,
Mm-hmm.
not an
Yeah.
hour, a
I
day.
know.
So they got a lot of pain. And when they meet people who basically, the tourists down here that act, talk, and think like they're 14 years old, they got arm sleeves. These guys can't even afford the gas to go to the tattoo parlor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we got 50-year-old Canadians in Mexico, 60-year-old Canadians, 70, acting, talking, and thinking like they're 18 years old, partying, getting drunk, singing drunk, falling into the pool. You can tell no one's born like this. Like no one's born this dysfunctional. It's part of the government structure up there that
Mm-hmm.
produces this mass of adult the people that have adult IDs. They're of adult age, but they act, talk, and think like children because they're easier to rule. And so you can see there's a big, big psychological operation going on, only in Canada, the US, Western Europe, Australia, things like this. But again, to solve this problem, we have to face our pain. And the easiest way to face our pain, someone says, well, how do I go from child to adult? Well, why don't you try quitting coffee? Because it's not going to go good. And you're going to go and you're going to fall. And you're going to go, you're going to fall, you're going to cry. You're going to go, you're going to fall, you're going to cry, and you're going to second guess how much power, strength, courage, and muster you got. But then you get
Mm-hmm.
back up, and it's pushing yourself back off the ground. Once you failed quitting coffee, failed quitting marijuana, failed quitting alcohol, once you push yourself back up, your arms become like rockets. And that's what you need, the repetitive exercise of pushing yourself back up,
Mm-hmm.
not being afraid to fail. When you fall down, just like Jamie, I mean, you know, this as an athlete, this is basic stuff. When you went to skate, many times you fell. You don't
Yeah.
crawl off and have a drink and the liquor isn't served on the boards. You don't take a shot of liquor every time you take a fall to get back up. You face the pain and you dig in harder. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
we need to get out of this. We got to dig in harder. We got to get healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
these are called the hero's journey. And the hero's journey
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago used to be some crazy guy would leave his mother's house in England, walk
Yeah.
to Liverpool, and sail to the new world. That's a rite of passage. That he would have left a boy, he would have came back a man.
Mm-hmm.
Or a woman would have had a child. She would have probably been a girl when she was pregnant. Now she's a woman because she learns the hard lessons, listens to the pain teacher. This is what we really have to do. And the person says, well, there is no equivalent now of me setting sail for the new world, some sort of hero's journey. Yes, there is. Quit your addictions. And you will see it will be like riding the biggest storm on that ship that boy ever experienced. You quitting coffee or alcohol or junk food or watching TV in an environment like Canada will be the equivalent of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Make your hero's journey, make it count, and lead by example, because it's the only, we're not going to get where we need to go as a country unless we clean up our own kitchen cupboards,
Yeah.
clean up our fridge, clean up what we do with our spare time, clean up our minds, and each individual is only responsible for their own plot. That's it. And the more we go out trying to change other people, the more we're missing the point. Take
Mm-hmm.
Tend to your own garden and everything else will fall into place. Stop
Mm.
looking for some kind of puppetition hero to come and save you,
Ah,
because that's the trick that's going on right now in Canada. The blue team and the red team spin the wheel. Someone
yeah.
else is going to take care of me.
Yeah.
No, you got to take care of you, and you got to stop outsourcing the responsibility for your life to other people And because the more problems there are, the more they say they need your money. And if you happen to notice, whoever's listening to this, you're out of money. So there's not much left to give and they want it all. So you have one choice. You either keep playing their game or you stand in the 2 foot by 2 foot country called yourself. That's your country. And you rule that 2 foot by 2 foot nation called you with the morality and the ethics of the best king or queen that ever walked this earth. And then once you practice and experience what it's like to be a moral and ethical ruler of your own body, your own home, then come talk to me. Then work your way out into the real world and influence others. But don't come before that, because then you'll just be asking other people to solve your problems for you.
Yeah. Well said. What do you tell people that say, "Oh, I don't have an addiction, Jason"? Like you mentioned earlier that, a little bit here and there. I don't drink very often, or I don't drink a lot of coffee. I don't eat a lot of junk food. I know you're not saying to people, quit cold turkey tomorrow. That's not it.
No.
But we know these things aren't serving us. They're not helping us grow. They're not healthy. They don't give you energy. What do you say to people that say that to you? Like,
If
what do
you're
you
not
go,
addicted, why can't you stop? That's it.
that
So no,
is
no, no, you are
simple.
addicted if you can't stop. It's a very simple answer, very
So
simple
we're
question.
such an addicted like society in society. We're very addictive people, like as a species.
The more traumatized the nation, the more sedative substances they will need. This is why marijuana was first implemented coast to coast. In the United States, it's not legal in every state. In Canada, it's coast to coast because Canadians need to sedate. This is
And
their
now
cycle.
fentanyl and
Yeah. Fentanyl is legal in BC. Toronto's glorifying them, but it's just the politicians glorifying them.
hmm
No
hmm
logical, irrational human being that wants to run their life in a logical and rational way would ever endorse fentanyl, heroin, or cocaine to be sold out of food trucks. But this is what they're trying to do because they're trying to take away our power. I mean, even if there's a food truck in your community in British Columbia selling cocaine, your power as a member of the public is diminished
hmm
because we're the overall power of the public. We are a summation of all our parts, all our individuality.
hmm
So when someone is in trouble and someone else is weak and someone's addicted, it weakens us all.
Oh.
Right. So we have to stand together and know that the people ruling us are trying to pollute us on purpose. They're trying to weaken us on purpose. It's one enemy. We're not the enemy of each other. I'm not the enemy of a drug addict down in the Lower East Side of Vancouver. I'm not your enemy. But
hmm
there are people that are trying to dispose of you, trying to beat you down, and trying to make it official government policy, and using a lot of contradictory messages, confusion, that they're trying to give you a safe supply while the drug overdoses are skyrocketing. That's confusing. That helps mind control. Confusion is the most effective ingredient of mind control. So be very careful. I'm not an enemy to everybody. But when there's a whole society that's ripped up and high and polluted and chemically infused and intoxicated, you
hmm
tell me, how long can this horse and pony show go on before the air conditioner guy can't even show up? He's too sick.
Yeah.
You're going to phone for a roofer. He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You're going to go to the hospital. You're going to want phone the ambulance, but everybody's got myocarditis. How long do you think this smoke and mirror show can go on before the basic services can't even be maintained?
Yeah.
Because you can't have a society of people that are this sick, this diseased, this overweight, this dysfunctional, and think that somehow a couple people on top are going to stitch it all together. And
Yeah.
they're the ones wrecking it. Like it's just, it doesn't make any sense that you would even think that these people who are wrecking it on purpose to extract your power are there to help you. You would have to be, you're living in a fantasy land.
Mm-hmm. Jason, this is mind blowing stuff. We've heard parts of what you've talked about through other speeches from other people and everything, but this was so well put together. And I know our audience right now is just probably like, That was really funny, but it was also really freaking depressing to hear all this, right? Like it is, because it's the truth, and
It's
that is
called
what
it's called the pain, and if the truth is
pain.
painful,
It
it means
is.
you're living a whole bunch of lies and probably not just one.
Mhm.
Because that's how this universal casino operates. If the truth hurts you, it means you're living one or more lies. And if it's really offensive to the point where you turn away or want to say this guy's crazy or where's his
Yeah,
tinfoil bodysuit, it means you're not just living a couple lies. You're carrying like a Santa bag of lies around with you. Government's going to save me. The
yeah,
TV's there to entertain me.
yeah,
Alcohol safe in moderation. Organic. They're spraying food poison on the food because of the bugs. Like how many are you living? Fluoride's good for your teeth. Like how many are you living? And the more
hmm,
you live, the more dysfunctional you are, which is what they want. Because the
yeah,
more trouble you're in, the more they say, see all those problems you have that we created? We
yeah,
need more of your money to fix them. So give us more and
yeah,
drop your responsibility. Your only responsibility is put an X on the red team or an X on the blue team, and we'll take care of it all, like some kind of magic show.
yeah. We're
And
not
and
getting through this with politics.
no, you're not getting through this with anything other than self responsibility, morality, and ethics coming back in the individual household. It's not going to happen. And there are places that are doing this. So you can either become North Korea, where all your news, like you're going to, like the thing about Canada and its news cycle right now is they could wall you in very soon inside Canada and just tell you that every place else is on fire and we could
Yeah,
all be free down here in Mexico where there's no restrictions and everybody could be sitting up there in a 15-minute city eating crickets saying, thank God we're
yeah,
safe. Like
yeah,
this is how manipulative the
yes,
forces are inside the Canadian border, where they're going to feed you complete fantasy. Everybody else could be happy, booming, free as a bird, and
yeah,
they could be telling you that yeah, Canada's the number one free country in the world, and it could be like North Korea. Like they think in North Korea, the Kim Jong Un, they think he's an actual deity. They think he's a religious deity. I mean, if you wall people in inside their own media brainwashing propaganda cycle, you can make them believe anything.
yeah.
So we have to be very careful up there. And again, when I say careful, I just mean, are you poisoning yourself by your own hand? If you want to change and save your country, it actually involves saving yourself, saving your partner, saving your own children, so that they don't think some kind of working meaningless job, sedative cycle like coffee, alcohol, ordering takeout food on a Friday night that would choke a maggot. You just got to make sure people, the next generation, doesn't think that's a good cycle to get into, because that's what everybody up there is obsessed with. Let's watch some actors kill each other. We'll order some food not fit for a maggot to consume, and then we'll have some coffee and some wine. And this is life. This is not life. It's not life outside the borders. Trust me, I've been outside the borders. I've been around the world since I left Canada, and I do come back to our fine country and visit our fine friends from time to time. But I'll tell you, all the world is not like that.
Wow, yeah. And yet, so now, of course, our news, like even like alternative news, or I mean, we're the news, but is being censored big time. And there's so many things that we don't even know. So you're bang on with saying that we could be walled. A lot of Canadians would be like, "Yay, they're protecting us."
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
Crazy.
more.
But
There's marijuana. You can pick up the fentanyl at the marijuana
yeah,
store. Maybe the liquor stores across the country will start, having free bag of cocaine with any purchase over $100. Harvey's and McDonald's will be giving out Starbucks and bags of heroin. I mean, this is where it's going. This is the insanity of what's going on up there. It's like Planet Mental Asylum. So I tell people, look, I know I'm painting a dark and ugly picture, but it is dark and ugly, but you can do something about it. You can
yeah,
get
we
up
gotta,
tomorrow and
yeah,
stop using your face as a battering ram. How's that? It's easy. It's within your
yeah,
control. It'll save you money if you stop poisoning yourself. It'll save you time, migraines, diarrhea, rashes, and maybe your Johnson doesn't work. Maybe your Petunia doesn't work. I mean,
I
this is
know.
all based on poisoning. You have to get control of yourself
Yeah.
before you can go out and control bigger things in your environment. I
Yeah.
hope that makes some sense. I try to make it funny,
Oh,
but
you know what?
I got,
No, honestly, my face hurts. This has been so, like I said, so funny. But yet, like, oh, I have to make changes too, Jace. Like, this is real for me too. I'm far from perfect here, and I'm also willing to, but it's a process, and I allow myself that grace of like, hey, you know what? You are making those steps. You are taking the steps anyway to improving all of this. But where can people find you? I followed you on Instagram through COVID, and I appreciated your walk and talks very much. I did. I really did. I was like, oh, because we all thought we were like losing our minds, right? And then you listen to someone else over here going, so
yeah, for
Instagram.
people. Yeah, well, for people that are insane enough to want to follow me after that rant, if this was your first exposure to Jason Christoff, I'm sure you're completely disgusted and probably turned this off a long time ago. But I've been telling these stories for 25 years. I did not wake up in 2020. I've been doing
Right.
this for 25 to 28 years. I used to write in some of the three or four newspapers in Canada before the cancel culture hit me first. I got canceled before it was a thing. And so I've been doing it a long time. But if you want to get uncensored content, there's only one way. Get on my email list. Email me at
Yes.
the same email address, info@jchristoff.com, single initial J. Christoff is Christ with an OFF on the end, info@jchristoff.com. And I have complete faith in everybody. It's about progress. It's not about perfection. And even myself, when I was quitting alcohol, maybe 15 years ago or 20 years ago, I don't know how long it's been. I used to drink 15 martinis a night when I used to drink. And then you got to take a staggered approach to that. Staggered, no pun intended, because I was staggering everywhere I went. But basically, I would drank 8 martinis, and that was a victory. Like, it's a progress, right?
Oh yeah.
Your body loves it. And then I would drink maybe 8 martinis twice. I would only drink on the weekends or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'd drink 8 martinis twice a month instead of 4 times a month. And then I would go to four and then two, and then maybe drinking once a month. And then there was a time, it took me like a
Why
year
drink
and
it?
a half
Yeah.
to quit fully. And then I quit for 10 years. It was 10 years. I wouldn't even take a sip if someone said, even if I was at a winery with my family in Tuscany, and someone said,
Oh
take a sip of this wine, I'd be like, nope, I don't drink. But so eventually, one of my friends family members actually, who died, who owned a bar in Santorini, sort of like around the 10th year, they said, this man's name was Steve, great man. I would never disrespect him or turn my back on him. They said the celebration is for Steve tonight at the bar, and he wants you to come back. He wants you to come back and drink like days of old, because I used to dance on the bar at this club in
yeah.
Santorini. So I said, okay, tonight's the night. The drinking's the drinking's back on after 10 years of quitting. But I drank that night. Uh, did my thing like every other human, and then the next day I was perfectly fine. It didn't even affect me, and then I stopped drinking for years and years after that. I still don't drink, but if I'm at a winery, or if I'm at a resort, not a
Mm-hmm.
resort, or a nice restaurant, and someone says, you got to try this lime martini, I never order my own. I'll say, oh yeah, and I'll put my lips to it. That's it.
Yeah.
So for 10 years, I didn't do that. One night out of, say, 20 years, I went and celebrated, celebration of life for a close friend, because that's what he insisted. I would never deny him that. He was passed away. And then
Mhm.
today, I'm still very strict, but if someone offers me the
Yeah.
best thing they've ever tasted, I will put my lips to it. But again, it's all about, look how much. And I used to spend $35,000 a year on alcohol, cocaine, and steroids. That's what I used to spend. And
Bad.
I stopped that 20 years ago. And someone says, well, that's $700,000. I say, I got that $700,000. I didn't spend it
Wow.
on anything else. Exactly. So that's how you dig
Ugh.
yourself out of your own hole, because all I did to become better is stop what's hurting myself. And then I
Yeah.
saved 35. That's 35,000 extra
Yeah.
dollars after tax. And I got it. So this is an important lesson for people to
Hmm.
remove what's hurting yourself. If you say, I got no money for a website, I got no money for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do. Yeah, you do. Of course you got it. Stop hurting yourself by your own hand and watch the money flood back to you, and all the power as well. Because not
Hmm.
only did I have the money, I had the power and the health to start many businesses, which put way more than $700,000 in my pocket.
Amazing. Oh, I've heard that so many times. Like, oh, I don't have the money to buy organic this or get meat from a farmer or. But then I
Yeah,
would look at their living situation, and it's like, okay, but you're buying alcohol, you're buying pot or
yeah,
gummies, whatever they're doing, right? And the
yes.
list goes on. But it's this they're prioritizing that, right? So, yeah, oof, oof, Jace. I think I recommend everyone listening right now to listen to this again.
Yes. And I quit all that
Like,
stuff, say 25 years ago. But I was like everybody else. So it can be done. And you
yeah,
just again start like the journey of 1,000 steps starts with one step.
yeah,
It's very
yeah,
important to make the first step and say maybe you'll have half a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll have half a glass
yeah,
of wine. It's a step in the right direction.
yeah, exactly. Oh, you're amazing, Jason. I adore you so much. I'm again
Same.
grateful I got to meet you and have this conversation. So powerful. Where are you going next? Can we promote
Well,
anything here? Can we?
I think I'm just going to Geneva, Switzerland next to
Okay.
mingle. There was an invitation only event where trying to save the world in one
Yes,
way or another. So,
yes, that's in
so
this April. Yeah.
yeah, no, this one's in May. I think it's at the end
Oh,
of May.
this is the one
So
in
it's
Switzerland?
yeah, in Geneva. So I'm going to fly there, and I'm going to fly out of Mexico, and then I'll go to Latvia, and then I'll just keep doing my programs where I teach these
Yeah.
principles, the 5 pillars of health, and how mind
Okay.
control works, and use mind control to make your life better. But again, I
Okay.
give this information for free. Get on my email list, and I'll
Mm.
just slow drip you for free, one step at a time.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Well, God bless you and safe travels
Thank you, Jamie.
wherever you go. Yes, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And make sure you go to our website, canadiansfortruth.ca. Subscribe, become a member so that you can get into the vault and see all of our amazing content there. And God bless you as well. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody. Bye, Jason.